Well, good morning and welcome to Stroke of Genius Podcast Survivor Experience. I'm your host, Aaron Avila. In today's show, I get a great guest I love. His name is Dan Hodges, who was born blind, but yet has done doing amazing things. If we get to know him, I'm excited to introduce you to him. So let's get right to it.
The Stroke of Genius podcast, hosted by brain aneurysm and stroke survivor Aaron Avila, sharing the experiences of survivors and CEOs. This is your destination for inspiration.
Well, good morning, Dan.
Morning. Thank you for having me.
It's really awesome to have you. You know, I love having you on my show. But I'm really excited for today's show because today you and I already did a podcast on the executive experience. And we talked more about pieces of meat, which we'll get into a little bit. But I kind of want to break the show up into two parts where we get to know you personally, what you've gone through with your battle, your struggles, things you've gone through as a blind person, and then what you've done to find your purpose, how your disability led you to find your purpose in life, like mine. So we get into that. But so let's run into the first question I have you, Dan. For us that don't know, please describe, if you can, in words, what's it like to live a life as a blind person, not be able to see and interact with the blindness?
So I'm going to break my answer into three quick parts. We're going to talk about the physical, we're going to talk about the structural, and then we're going to talk about the societal really quickly. The physical, which I know a lot of people have a lot of questions about. For me, I have no vision in my right eye and only a little peripheral vision in my left eye. That has mostly been stable throughout my life, although I used to have a little bit of vision in my right eye prior to a surgical implant that my eye rejected. So in that eye, I have floaters, but nothing that really is discernible. Just my eye still trying to see. And in my left eye, I have the ability to discern blurs, colors, actually read a little bit of print if it's magnified. Long story short, I'm extremely nearsighted. And I wanted to get into that level of detail because one of the common misconceptions is that when you say blind, that means no vision at all, where in reality, among the millions of Americans who are considered legally blind, a relatively small number of them have absolutely no vision whatsoever, and an even smaller number of them were born totally blind. So the term blindness actually encompasses a spectrum of vision loss, as it were. As far as the structural things, if I walk out of my apartment right now and head toward the elevator or head toward the trash chute or various other things, I am encountered with a hallway that has plenty of signs. Here's the trash, here's the elevator, here's the stairs, here's the other apartments, none of which are brailled. So I am having to use memorization and other techniques. So if you can imagine, if you were to walk into a building and nothing had a sign on it, that's my reality. In most cases, that's my reality. And that's not necessarily a matter of, my sight limiting me as much as it's a matter of access, because braille signage can actually level the playing field if we get it there. It's not that I'm incapable of finding places, but the actual difference in what is information available to me versus available to somebody who can see, that difference is quite drastic. And then the final thing is societal. I have to deal with that constant voice in the back of my head that a lot of minorities deal with, in a sense of, I feel like I have to be a little better than my peers to take care of whatever bias or misconceptions they may have. I feel like I have to perform a little better. I have to be a little smarter. Or in some cases, I have to field a series of questions that others wouldn't have to deal with. One story that we tell is that when my daughter, our firstborn kid, was born, we actually had to fend off a litany of criticisms, accusations, questions, skepticism, whatever, based solely upon our blindness, despite the fact that we had met every milestone that new parents are supposed to meet with ease. And so there's that very real challenge of, even if I perform at a level comparable to my peers, will the person doing the to or will their bias provide an insurmountable wall between me and whatever I'm trying to get to? So that's how I would describe blindness in a nutshell.
Yeah, because me, obviously I'm in a wheelchair, I'm half paralyzed, speech dependent. I think bringing up the point, and I know the truth that most people are not that are considered blind and not seeing pitch black. It does occur, but there is usually some input of light of some type. But I'm curious, Dan, how you made a real good point, which we're going to spend some time with. But something simple as a braille sign, something simple as maybe I don't know what, but there are simple things that we could do that people could do, business owners could do, whatever can make it easier for you as a disabled person, blind person.
Yeah, we talk a lot about web accessibility, so making sure that images are, given descriptions, that buttons are properly labeled. We talk about, making sure that areas are, structurally inclusive. So, having braille, having, access points for people who are in wheelchairs, making sure that they're otherwise just welcoming to people with, the whole spectrum of bodies. I think that's a place that we're getting to, and I think it's important to have those conversations, because we often think about, can't do this because I'm blind, and in a literal sense, that is rarely true. The lack of eyesight is not the primary factor in whatever barriers we face most of the time. The lack of access is almost always the real barrier.
Now, but that has been how you've taken your blindness or disability and turned it into your purpose. And you start a foundation called Peace of Me. And that really is, why don't you tell me what your mission is? What is Peace of Me?
Where everyone can thrive regardless of their characteristics. That's the kind of community we're trying to build. We have a stated mission of erasing the stigma surrounding disability and chronic illness. And how we're doing that is we are creating real they get their questions answered, they learn from one another, we learn from one another. And we are all able to release our biases and misconceptions by learning new things, by embracing new perspectives, and kind of teasing out some of these ideas that oftentimes remain in the shadows. I know you've been part of one or two of our conversations, and hopefully they were informative, because we're trying to get people to talk, and that is what really, that's where understanding is created, and that's where fear dissipates.
Yeah, it's that awareness really bringing up a conversation. Like I and doing like Stroke is doing, and really just talking about it and bringing it to the forefront of the public. I'll be honest with you, because more than likely there'll be no consideration for disabled. And it's just the way it is. Everybody takes for granted they can see or they can walk or they can talk or they whatever. And these are needed conversations. So I appreciate what you're doing. But it's amazing to me that there are not more people out there really. We come a long way really advocating for disabled. So it's an amazing thing you're doing. Now, I do have a question for you, bro. When you were growing up as a blind person, as a blind man, what was your biggest one of your name your top three challenges of your life as a young person?
So one was just that pervasive expectation that blindness, the actual characteristic, was going to limit my potential. And that came from a variety of different perspectives. Another was a lack of opportunity. And the third was a lack of training until I was 18. I, despite the fact that I'm a voracious reader now and actually working on a book now, is what you might consider functionally illiterate until just about my 18th birthday. Because if you're reliant upon large print and you barely have enough vision to see one character at a time and you can maybe take 5 minutes to read a page, you're not really literate in that sense, in a way that really having what we call OCR technology, so technology that allows things that are on a computer screen to be read. Those have been a game changer as far as my ability to take in and synthesize information. So again, I go back to my eyesight itself didn't change, but my life, when I learned what I'm capable of, when I started to have opportunities placed before me, and when I started to create my own opportunities based on that, and when I found a way to get the skills I needed, those three things really started to change the trajectory of my life.
But that is really, that's universal for all disabled. We don't realize our potential. We have there. I said, no, I'm going to talk in the stroke community. There's a lot of people that put a period at the end of stroke, basically at the end of them trying to end their life. But now, reality, if they open up their way of seeing things, so to speak, they can actually find purpose through their disability. And that's what you and I have done. That's what we're doing right now. We are using our disability as catalyst for change.
Yeah, and I think that this is where my battle with chronic pain and mental health also come into the picture too, because I'm not what one considers vanilla blind, or blindness being my sole disability. I actually have anxiety, I have chronic pain, etc. And after the prognoses started to get a little scary with regard to, my condition is known to be one that has a path of chronic pain and increasing chronic pain that's honestly not great. And so I had to make a decision. Either I was going to find a purpose that was powerful enough to help me keep pushing forward despite threw at me, or eventually the pain, both physical and mental, was going to get the upper hand and I was going to rot away. It was really, in my mind, that black and white. And so, fortunately, had people in my life who believed in what I could do and supported me and helped me identify a pathway that would leverage my strengths. That ultimately led to law school, which ultimately led to the nonprofit, which led to the stuff we've already talked about. And it doesn't make chronic pain or anxiety or other things go away, but it helps make them manageable, because purpose can really help alleviate the strength of some of the symptoms, and it can help create a level of connection as we're working with people and as we're working on projects that mean something to us, and where we can see that our difference actually matters, that our impact actually matters, and that we're creating something better from circumstances that maybe some of us wouldn't have chosen.
Yeah, that was actually very powerful, bro. I don't know how many people caught that, but your purpose has to be greater than your pain and really your struggle. And that really is so true. If I was to take my community, my stroke survivor community, the majority of people who struggle with they have no purpose. They don't have any way to get. They have no reason to get better or try to improve their life. But people that have a true purpose, like me, I have a purpose. You have a purpose. Boy, it just opens up the excitement, opens up opportunities, opens up life and life in general. And that is so awesome to hear you say that, because I want to repeat it. This means a lot to me. And your purpose out there, people, your purpose has got to be greater than your what you fear, what you think is stopping you from doing, right?
It does. And that doesn't mean that if you see an opportunity in your circumstances that you don't take it. But what it does mean is that you are making your choices based on a positive identity, a positive self image, rather than based upon desperation and scarcity. You know, for probably the entire history, and we haven't quite gotten rid of this yet, disability of any kind was seen as being this tragedy. And if it's seen as being a tragedy, if it's seen as being a fate that is worse than death, which that's honestly how it's treated, you know this. If that's your frame of reference, then you will do literally anything, no matter how risky, no matter how dangerous, no matter how painful, to fix that reality. And it's a terrible place to be in. And it's a losing place to be in for far too many people. I don't love the fact that I'm in chronic pain. I'm actually okay with the fact that I'm blind. I think I was born blind for a purpose. I'm trying to get there for pain. But even still, I can say, look, I can deal with my pain. One of my many joints that are messed up, I'll consider it. But I'm going to consider it from a rational, objective point of view. Does this operation, this medication, if the side effects or the the other latent fact trump whatever benefits I might receive, then I'm not going to go for it and I'm going to be okay. That's what real empowerment in my mind looks like. That's what embracing ourselves looks like.
Right, it's funny because I hope you go to it because I'm going to be doing in December. I'm going to be doing a podcast on self love. And why the critical is for everyone, disabled or not, to love themselves for who they are. And you and I have I know many others have that have a reason to not love themselves the way they are. But reality is you're enough. You just said my blindness gave me my purpose. And I stroke brain aneurysm also did me the same. Led me to my purpose. And I wish everybody could get to that place where they find purpose in their plight. And because I just got word the other day, a close friend of mine, a TBI survivor, committed suicide the other night. He shot himself in the head. And, it's when they begin to lose sight of their purpose. Because if you have a purpose, you're not going to pick up the gun and kill yourself. But when you don't have a purpose, there's no reason to live.
Well, first of all, my condolences for the loss of a friend, and obviously thoughts and prayers go out to everyone impacted by that.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, it's a process. I mean, I go on shows like yours and I talk about self love and I talk about purpose and all of this stuff. And I'm better than I was a year ago. I'm much better than I was 3 years ago. Can't even remember 10 years ago. But I hope that I'm stronger a year, 3, 5, 10 from now. So it's not a light switch that you flip on. It's a conscious effort every day with ups and downs. And the reality of the matter is there's some simple truths in what we've talked about, but nothing about this is easy. Nothing.
Sorry, yeah.
And and so I really I'm grateful that you brought. Want anyone out there listening to think, oh, well, they're talking about it. They make it sound so simple, and I don't get it. I hear that. I empathize with that, and I don't want hope to become toxic. So I guess what I would say there is for individuals that are dealing with this directly, hopefully it's an upward trajectory. And if it's not, then, let's figure out why it's not and let's try to fix it. For people who are allies, which I think and I hope is all of us, even if we are directly impacted, I don't want to just look at me. I want to be Aaron's ally. I want to be other people's ally too. So I think for all of us, we really, really have to be conscientious of the fact that even if we feel like we're strong, even if we have purpose, even if we are on the right path, societal and the structural barriers that we encounter, let alone those are very real. And there is something that happens in your soul when you feel like you are denied basic access as a human being time after time. And that pain, that trauma is surmountable, but it's definitely real too. And we have to address that because if we don't, then we end up in situations where what could have been dealt with at an earlier level turns into tragedy. And I think that is a conversation we really have to have much more frequently and in a much more real and raw way than we have.
I think really the key is, like you've said out numerous times during the show, communication, getting the other talk about it, bring awareness to it. I mean, so many times we stay quiet, we don't say anything, we don't bring it to the forefront. But in our reality, if we want change in this world, we want change around us, whether it be in our household or be in the world. We have to be that change. We've heard this saying, be the change you want to see in the world. Well, it's really true. It sounds kind of cliche, but it's up to each one of us to make the difference.
Absolutely. And each one of us can make a difference. I think that is so important to remember. No matter our circumstances, no matter our characteristics, our contributions matter.
That is, I'm Dan. I'm really glad about that because I want to address you, audience. You can make a difference. You have an actual gift. Dan, as I'm not that Dan, but I believe that everybody in the world has a gift to make an impact for the world. So many times we're raised to be selfish, to be self-oriented. When in our reality, our purpose on this planet is to be there for others, to help other people. Not to climb the corporate ladders to help everybody, but reach down and help somebody up. And that's what you have. I guarantee you, if you look for it, you have a purpose. Well, then we get down to the last few minutes of the show, but please tell me and others. So, well, how do we get a hold of you on social media, and what's your social media contact?
Absolutely. So you can look for me individually as Daniel Hodges JD on LinkedIn. In the audience who wants to connect. And you can also find me on Twitter. And for the nonprofit, we are Pieces of Me, and that's PEACES of me. And that spelling is a play on words, as you might have picked up on. We are not broken. We are simply looking for ways to get better. PEA. Pieces of Me has social presence on all of the major platforms: LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We invite everyone to come. You're an individual with a disability, whether you're an ally, whether you're just somebody who doesn't even part of this. Come help create the kind of world that all of us want to live in, because again, your contribution matters. And we can't make the world perfect, but we can make it a little better every day.
Wow, that is amazing, bro. That is just amazing. You people are valuable. You are valuable, and I together with Dan, myself, and you, we can make the world a better place. Like Dan says, we may not be able to change it overnight, but we can make it a little better than it was. So, Dan, I wanted to thank you for being here. Thank you for being on the podcast. And it sure is a pleasure. I'll be out here again, I'm sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.
All right. All right. Well, I love you. Okay. All right. Everybody enjoy yourself. Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe to Stroke TV, maybe on YouTube. subscribe to YouTube video, our YouTube channel, and share any videos or any content with anybody thinking you should. Again, Dan, have a great day, bro.
You too. Thank you, sir.
Set me on.